Let me set up my timer here. All right, so yeah, this is a UX showcase for testing, which is one of my groups. My name is Juan Ramirez. I'm a product designer for Runner and Testing. And what I'm gonna be showing today is a 3-year vision exploration that we have been doing for the testing group. Basically, the idea of this is to generate certain ideas and start kind of like nurturing the roadmap as we move forward. So yeah, talking about those goals more precisely, I think the first idea with this is definitely to create, explore and validate that vision that we have been trying to paint and that we have been discussing with several customers, and generate a backlog of initiatives and different things that will help us set up the foundation for that future work. So that's one of the reasons why this type of work is important. The second goal here is to learn more from our customers and their current needs. So the idea here is showing them some of these designs and trying to understand how the existing testing offering compares to what we're trying to show them here, and also trying to validate certain gaps when it comes to how we compete in the market. So that's another thing that we're trying to do here. We're looking at other tools, and we're trying to see how they go to market with their tools and how their offering can compete with our product moving forward. All right, so before I jump into showing the vision, the first thing that it's important to explain here is what is testing, right? So you hear it a lot. People kind of like, if you work in GitLab or you work in this industry, you kind of know what's testing implicitly, but you really like it's more complex than it sounds, you know, because there's many moving pieces here. So one thing is testing in the context of GitLab. One of the goals here is that we want to provide best testing platform and enable end-to-end testing for anyone who's using GitLab. And that doesn't only lay down to, you know, being a platform where you can run tests. It's also something that has to do a lot with test planning and, you know, thinking about how you're going to create tests for your projects. So that's what it's called end-to-end testing, which is coming from planning to basically analyzing your tests as they're happening. So in terms of what we're doing or what we currently have at GitLab, we are very strong in test execution. I think that's where we are provide our best offering right now, which is the idea of basically any type of framework for testing can be implemented on top or implemented or applied on top of any CI/CD project on GitLab. So anyone who want to run a framework like Jest or Karma or RSpec, we're capable of basically executing all those type of tests with very low friction. And we are also capable of exposing the resulting data from those tests in a very elegant way in the UI. So we are strong on that area. Test planning is an interesting one because that one actually doesn't fall under the testing team currently. This is gonna be more an area of focus for quality management, which is something that Nick Brand is working on that. And this is something that's coming soon, but there's already kind of like a roadmap for this happening, which also includes a little bit of test design. And this one is a little bit more vague. I think there's more intersections between what we're doing at testing and what quality management is doing. But the idea with test design is how can we help our customers to plan those tests and imagine those tests and kind of create this foundation of what needs to be implemented before actually creating and executing the tests. Finally, result analysis. That's an area where we are running. We are kind of like doing our things, and it needs to be way better. And that's an area where we want to focus, and that's part of the large vision that we have for the future. So I'm going to be mostly showing things about results analysis or analytics of testing. And yeah, it's basically this idea of how can we move forward and create more compelling solutions in result analysis as we keep creating things in testing in the next 3 years and forward. So uh, there's two lofty goals here. One is we want to help directors and managers to understand all the data that is generating from their testing and create insights that they can use to improve and inform their decisions, and also improve their cost and the performance of their companies, uh, extrapolated from that testing data. And of course, we also want to help developers to understand the areas of concern when it comes to testing. So we want them to know what it's failing, why it's failing, and even if it's not failing, how they should improve what they're doing to make their code base more reliable and achieve more things as they keep working and as they keep releasing and adding new features. So yeah, let's jump into the design so we can explore a little bit of the see some of the things that I have been exploring. So as I said, this is mostly focused on it's mostly focused on the result analysis part. So the vision here is, sorry, let me just see. Okay, this works better. So the vision here is that anyone who in the future, anyone who is using testing should be able to understand what's going on with their tests and how that is impacting the overall performance of the project. So the vision is that eventually people are gonna come to the group level. So if they have an instance, it will be the instance level. Really doesn't matter for the context of what I'm trying to explain here. But the idea is that you're gonna have broad visibility of all your projects and how they are performing testing wise, right? So you will see, like you will come to a view like this one where you are gonna see a dashboard that it's showing you data like group testing coverage. So it's giving you a data point on how your groups are behaving in terms of testing coverage. What testing coverage means is how much of my code is being tested. We also have this intention of showing them how long is the testing jobs, or how long are the testing jobs taking in total duration, because that has an impact in cost, and that has an impact in the way that they create and they craft those tests. So showing them that type of data. One parenthesis that I want to make here is that you will see that there's these segmented controls to switch between different stats, like stat angles. So you can see the P90, the P95, or the average. And the reason here is that there's certain things that where we want to be opinionated, and there's certain things where we don't want to be opinionated. And we believe that the best way to do that is by allowing customers to just see how a P90 looks against an average. And of course, from a statistical point of view, a P90 or a P95 is more accurate than seeing an average, but we really want to give them like all that data and don't be opinionated on how they interpret the data. There's other areas where we want to be opinionated, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but the whole idea is to give them as much flexibility in analyzing the data as they can. So yeah, as you can see, there's many other things. One interesting thing that we want to start leveraging more is the frameworks that you can use to measure code quality and start analyzing things like the churn of files, the code complexity, the duplication, the maintainability of your code, how many trivial check-ins are happening. We also have accessibility testing in the solutions that we provide. We want to also surface how much, how accessible are the tests, how accessible are the projects. And we also have this concept of web performance and testing latency in endpoints. So we also want to surface that. There's also another concept that I'm exploring here, which is group projects breakdown. So seeing this data per project and seeing how your test coverage is changing through time, if it's improving, if it's decreasing, and just seeing those scores as across your different projects. I said before, something about being opinionated, and this is the area where I think we want to become a little bit more opinionated. So a score is a very opinionated perspective on data, right? If you say that something it's an A, you gotta be coming from somewhere, and we understand that that's opinionated. We also feel that this is the right way to start driving the attention of our customers into the important things, you know. So maybe an A, it's not representing what they want to see in terms of duplication, for instance, but it's gonna allow them to start benchmarking against themselves, you know. So if you have a lot of things on your code base that are scoring a C or a B, then or a D, then you're gonna use that as a baseline to start improving yourself. We believe that we want to be opinionated, but we also want to be flexible on this. So eventually, the idea and the goal with this type of scores is that people are gonna come and they can basically change the sensitivity of how we determine those scores. Many other things that we want to explore, basically showing graphs that can be plotted against different projects, seeing that performance throughout multiple different metrics, and having the ability to see that in things like 90 days or 120 days, whatever it makes sense to our customers. Also showing coverage hotspots. That's another area where we feel that we can add a lot of value. So instead of just saying like your tests are not doing well, telling them what specific files are the ones that are not performing well and what things are not the best at the moment, you know, and just pointing that to the customers. And another exploration that I did here, just showing them how that overall project is behaving. You know, like if I have 100% coverage on this file, that's great, but it's a tiny coverage against a large part of the project which has not an ideal coverage. Same goes for other areas that we're exploring, like code quality. The same thing, using these graphs that you can plot against other projects and see how one project performs against the other. This gives directors the ability to manage their groups or manage their teams more effectively, and try to extrapolate some areas of concern more quickly. Same goes for, here's one small thing that I wanted to mention. You will find out that like if we start going down this route, we're gonna end up with very, very, very long displays of data where people probably are gonna end up scrolling for a long time. So I'm thinking also like on those kind of quality of life improvements. So basically having the ability of collapsing the sections. If you don't care about seeing the group 90-day performance, you can collapse that, and that should be remembered. Maybe for your particular persona, you only care about code quality hotspots, which is a very software engineer persona, the one who cares about this. So you can just collapse all the other metrics. So yeah, just a parenthesis about how we're thinking moving forward on making this usability sane and reasonable. Same for other things like endpoint performance, showing data like endpoint latency, the time time to first byte. All those metrics are very important for developers, but also keeping that flexibility of seeing and plotting against different projects and plotting against different timelines. And finally, for accessibility, the same, just surfacing accessibility errors, accessibility warnings, and just kind of like creating that foundation of how I'm doing in terms of errors and warnings across all my project for all these areas. Moving forward, the next iteration for this is basically start exploring things about cost. Cost is an area of concern for our customers. If you have tests that are taking a long time for no reason, that's money that you're wasting on pipelines. If you have flaky tests that fail a lot of time, we definitely want to tell that to our customers and tell them, hey, you might have a test that is costing you a lot of money. You might want to look into that. And finally, another area that we want to explore is that proactive approach on how we fix these issues. So right now we're just surfacing these three things to the analysis, but we want to make sure that we also provide an easy way for them to fix these things. And if we have suggestions for them, having that ability to apply those fixes on the go in DMRs, or perhaps at a larger level in the project as you're analyzing it, giving some insights on how to fix these issues. All right, that's pretty much it, what I had to share.
Thank you, Juan. Do you have any questions?